September 12th, 2022. Great to be back and see all of you out there. On behalf of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and the Board of Directors of the Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club, I call to order the first meeting of the 60th year of the Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club. Invocation will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and will be given today by Mike Farmer, pastor of Crossroads United Methodist Church in downtown Canton. Pastor Mike.
It is good to be with you on a Victory Monday.
Yeah.
Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we give you thanks for bringing us together this day as we start out on our 60th season here. Lord, we ask that you bless each and every one of us. We ask that you bless those who are not here with us. Be with those who are sick, who are struggling, who are looking for your hope and your mercy. God, bless this food that we ate, the fellowship that we had, and our speaker today. Might it help us to grow to be people of concern and character and love for this community. It's in your name that we pray. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's kind of a relief. Everybody but above.
Everybody hear me okay? Introduction of our special guests. To my right, your left. On the far end is our treasurer, Jim Lindensmith. Next to him, Jim Osborne. Moving inside is today's minister, Mike Farmer. And our own today, introducing our guest speaker, is our own Cadillac Miller. I'd like to place a special recognition to our club sponsors this year, currently at 2, Altman Primetime Health and Dr. Peter Ferguson. Our announcements. We have a special announcement, video announcement from member Mike Galena, and he could not be here today, so he is presented by his avatar.
Always cutting edge, right? Not short enough.
It's a little too tall.
Stand up.
Somebody hadn't turned their phone on.
Okay, Chris, all right.
Well, I guess this is what we call technical difficulties, right? If this don't come on, just say Mike's with us in spirit.
She'll fix it.
Here she comes.
Here comes the expert.
Everything was backwards. I'm down here.
See, this never happened in you.
I did.
There he goes.
Look, I can hear it up here. Hey, switch it over.
No, Mike, not Mike. Now we have the signal. They can watch on their TV,
Come on down here. Can you hear it?
that wouldn't work.
Just say Mike's with us in spirit. Ready? Now it's louder. All right, watch. Make sure you'll be.
Forgot to send the audio. Huh?
Mike will be coming back to this next week. And he'll probably be live. All right. Other announcements. Club member Gordy Nisley, last Thursday, the 9th of September, turned 95. The printed speaker schedule for September through January is available upon request. See Treasurer Tim Richard for that. We did have them out. We ran out. We will have some more printed for next week. Also available on our Facebook page and the Pro Football Hall of Fame website. Announcement 3, October the 3rd. This is what Mike was going to allude to. Write that date down. It is our first time that we will not be here. We will be at the Nash Family Event Conference Center at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You will be hearing from a Hall of Famer that day. And tickets go on sale next week, Monday the 19th. A ticket you must have it by the end, so we will be selling them the next 2 weeks. They are still $15, and you must have a ticket to attend. You cannot show up that day and just go in. So we'd like to try and fill it with our own members. It is going to be open to the public, so please make sure you get that ticket and put it in a safe place. No lunch tickets will be sold at the door, okay? More info will be shared in the next 2 weeks. All club announcements will appear on our club's Facebook group page for the 2022-23 season. Lastly, as a courtesy to our esteemed speaker and everyone else here today, please turn off silence your phones at this time. That means hit the silent mode on so that the little slash line goes through the bell. Okay? Your cell phones and any other devices that might emit sound. Much appreciated. Introduction of our 2022-23 Board of Directors. And if they are here and present, if they would please just stand and be recognized and stand until we finished with everyone. Vice President Frank Salona. Secretary Jim Lindensmith. Treasurer Tim Richard. Financial Secretary Wade Hostetler. Pro Football Hall of Fame Board representative from our group, and also our social media webmaster, Mr. R.J. Van Allman. First year trustees, we have 3, Jim Evans, Al Mayfield, and Bruce Sorston. 2-year term members, Dennis Manzella, Jim Osborne, and Becky Richard. And our past president, Bill Costello. Let's give them all a round. I have only one club illness, and that is Chuck Larsoul. Chuck usually sits up here, and he is out with COVID today. Okay, we have our raffle tickets. So get out your 50/50s, and our guest will draw the winning number, so he'll have someone that likes him, and a lot of you that not going to win many. And today's is worth $186. Wow. Take the winner. Got one? Perfect. Thank you. The winning number is 306-527. Scott. 306-527. Right here behind you, Wade. And if you give Wade your name and your winning ticket, we'll get that recorded for treasurer and secretary report. Next week, our speaker for Monday, the 19th, 1 week from today, will be Jeff Logan. Jeff is a 4-time Big Ten Conference champion, former co-captain of the 77 Ohio State Buckeye football team, and an all Big Ten selection. So he will be with us next year. And now, without further ado, I present to you Cole Cadillac Miller, who will introduce our guest speaker today.
First of all, let me say to anybody that's a veteran or any member of the armed forces, please stand up and be recognized for your service to this country. And I just want to say what an honor it is to introduce my friend Bruce Brennan, who for 42 years, an illustrious career in TV and radio, I have to say, if there was a Mount Rushmore of people that know baseball and sports in general, my Mount Rushmore would consist of Bob Costas, Vin Scully, and Jack Buck, not Joe Buck, and my friend Bruce Brennan here. Because you can ask this man anything from any era in baseball, and he can tell you any lineup there is better than any damn Google search. So, I just want to say, for those of you that want to hear a quick story of how I first met Bruce Brennan, it was September 2nd, 2009, at the Canton Fair. I had 2 goals in mind that day: to be on TV, got accomplished, and to not be called an idiot. Thankfully, also got accomplished But let me give a special shout out to his wife Jackie, who could not be here today, because behind every great man is a wonderful woman. And I have to say, Jackie Drennan is one of the most wonderful women I've ever met and have the privilege to know. And now, without further ado, a man that is never at a loss for words, like me. My good friend and yours, Bruce Drennan.
Wow! How do I follow that act? You're the one that should be up here conducting the ceremonies today. Cadillac, love you, buddy. Thank you very much. It was very touching. Best intro I've ever had. Let's hear it for Cadillac. Congratulations to Jim, starting with this season, and this I understand is your first luncheon, and so I'm very honored to have been invited by RJ. Thank you, RJ. It's been several years since I spoke to this great group at the Hall of Fame Luncheon. Did you miss me? Not this guy. He says he can't stand me. The only reason he came, he got a free ticket. And I drew your number. Last time I was here, we were in a very euphoric state. The Browns were in the midst of a 1-31 record.
Oh, yeah.
Fasten your seatbelt, Reverend. I only just begun. I'll get into the sports part of it with Browns and the Guardians and the Cavs and Ohio State. But as you probably know, I just recently retired from my television show. Originally Sports Time Ohio, then Fox bought us, and then Sinclair Broadcasting cut this deal with Bally Sports, which they are now known as. And we had a 15-year run with our show, which in television is pretty long, so I'm very grateful to the Lord and all of you for supporting us as you did over the years. It was really quite an experience, and what a way to end the way we did. I still, of course, am doing radio on ESPN 850, which is just enough to keep my feet wet and this very modest ego of mine gratified. But I really, I love it. I mean, I've been asked, do you miss it? And I say no, because I used to wake up in the middle of the night, today's show, today's show. Now I wake up in the middle of the night, what time's my tea time? I used to do the TV show and could hardly wait to the end of the week when I would be off. Now, I could hardly wait to the end of the week when I'm on once a week on radio. So I don't miss it, and I love my new lifestyle, and as Cadillac mentioned, I'm blessed to have a wonderful wife who's totally supportive, and I also, you may not know this, but I'm originally from Chicago. I went to Columbia College. I majored in radio and TV with only one thought, and that was to become a sportscaster. But I minored in theater. So now that I have the time, I've started to do community theater. And most recently, I was cast in a TV Western murder mystery, and my character was Ben Cartwright from Bonanza.
Hey, awesome.
Young guy over there says, Ben Cartwright? Who's that? Bonanza? What's that?
Classic TV.
But I really enjoyed it, and I intend on doing more of it. So I'm really excited about getting. I want to do a musical. That's what I really want to do.
Yeah, you could be the next Hamilton, Bruce.
All right, Cadillac, you already had your. I love you, but let's not get carried away. You know, you may have noticed, I have to mention this with now the football season starting in high school football. ESPN has been televising a lot of high school games. And 3 Sundays ago, the game they nationally televised was St. X from Cincinnati against my alma mater, Loyola Academy, from the Chicago Catholic League. And we killed them. Loyola's a Jesuit high school, and I went there to, well, Matt originally was in the city limits of Chicago. They moved to the suburbs, and I went there, and it was really always a football powerhouse, academically very tough. And my graduating class, I graduated the same graduating class as Bill Murray. And we really weren't in the 4 years, we really were not in any classes together, one or two I think I recall, but the way we knew each other was that we were always in jug after school in detention. But I missed our 50th class reunion a couple of years ago, and we were playing our arch rival Mount Carmel, another football powerhouse from the Chicago Catholic League. And by the way, the difference in Ohio and Illinois, Chicago Catholic League can play with anybody in any big high schools in the country. And there's another conference called the DuPage Valley. That's the far western suburbs of Chicago. They can too, isolated teams. But the difference here in Ohio is that every single division is incredibly competitive. And coaches come in here from other states to recruit like crazy. And I've been able in my career to get a lot of interviews with coaches, Barry Alvarez, Kurt Ferentz, who's looking for a little offense these days. And these guys appreciate it because, you know, they come in and recruit from Ohio, realizing how enriched we are with football talent, no matter what division. No matter what division. That's the difference. But I was really gratified to see my alma mater. It was fun. And obviously, we started the football season yesterday on such a positive note. It shouldn't have been as hard as it turned out to be, let me tell you that. But I thought Brissett was workmanlike and did a nice job. The defense is to be applauded. What a great job they did. And Mayfield, you know, he was Mayfield. I'm constantly asked about this Watson trade, and I totally support it from a football standpoint because, want some cough drops over there, sir? You all right? Seriously, you need some water? No, don't apologize, not at all. You got the Reverend here praying for you as we speak. At any rate, where was I? Mayfield. Here's what I say about this whole Watson thing. Mayfield is good. He's not great. He's a winner. He's not a champion. There's a difference. Watson gives the Browns the best chance of getting to the promised land, which we all know is the Super Bowl. No question about it. The fear is that if within this 5-year deal we do not get there, I'm afraid it sets the franchise back an additional 5 years because by then Chubb will be gone, the linemen will be gone, it'll be a whole new rebuild. So we've got to do it within these 5 years. Now, as far as the Watson case itself and these women, you know, I don't understand how he could have allowed this to happen. To me, it was stupid, but it is what it is. it was the most point-counterpoint story I can recall, maybe in my career. For every negative, then there was a positive. And it just was nonstop. I was getting so sick and tired of talking about it, and I'm sure you were sick and tired of hearing us on the air talk about it, but what are you gonna do? It was the topic in the country, certainly with the NFL season fast approaching. So, but I do believe it was the greatest chance the Haslams, and you know, the other owners are really peeved off at Haslam for this guaranteed money, because you see what's happening in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. He just turned down $290 million, for goodness sakes. How much does it take? But because this was unprecedented in guaranteed money in baseball's common, but not in the NFL, and that's why they're all peeved off at the Haslams. So we'll see how it turns out. I mean, I think the Browns have to go 6-5, quite frankly, under Brissett to make the playoffs this year, and then because Watson hasn't played in 2 years. He's got to be rusty, as we saw in that one preseason game. Got to be. It'll take him a while. And it's not just a coincidence that his first game back will be at Houston. Yeah. They stink, but you know they've got that game circled on the calendar for sure. I can't tell you how proud I am and excited about the Guardians. Let's hear it for them. My God, nobody anticipated this. Nobody. The beauty, it's like they don't know any better. It's like they go out trying to prove that they belong in the major leagues every time they take the field. And what I love a lot of, from the 7th inning on, they play great ball. They do not give up. If they've relinquished a lead, they still don't give up. They're not deflated. Francona, I saw Francona a few weeks ago at the Guardians' annual celebrity outing at Quail Hollow. And I'll tell you what, folks, he looks re-energized. He looks younger. I think these kids are making him feel younger. And as you know, he's had some health problems, so it was refreshing to see him like that. I really think he's having a ball with these kids. And the beauty is they're all locked in. They're all locked into contracts. With Jose extending, the next question will be Bieber. And we got to make a call on Bieber. But and there are kids in the minor league system that have to play. That's why they're still in the minors. They can't come up here because there's no room for them. That's how enriched the farm system is. It's a real positive outlook for the future with them. The Cavs, of course, pulled off this monster trade. And at first I said, boy, we gave up an awful lot. I didn't want to part company with Markkanen. I liked him a lot. They said he'd be the next Nowitzki in Chicago when he first came about. But I love the kid from Kansas that we drafted, 4-year player under Bill Self. I think Bill Self's one of the best coaches in the country. And he was their star on that national championship team. But again, similar to the Browns, we better do it with this Mitchell, because if not, we gave away all those draft picks, and so the Cavs, in a way, are in the same position as the Browns. But I think it's going to be a very exciting year. The thing I like most about it is that Bickerstaff can always have either Garland or Mitchell on the floor throughout the whole game. So you've got that scoring. And let's just hope we can keep Love healthy. That's always a key with him, because what the strides last year, I just thought he was tremendous. And I love the fact they got Rubio back too. Ohio State, I'll comment on the Notre Dame game first. People called me up on my radio show and they said, well, what's wrong with our offense? I said, hey, give Notre Dame's defense some credit. They played a darn good game. We got 3 Heisman candidates on that offense. And they play Arkansas State next week, I said, so, get ready. They'll put up 40, 50, 60 points, and sure enough, what I didn't anticipate was a Notre Dame getting beat at home by Marshall. Oh my, what a shocker that was. And the new top 25 came out today, and as we could have anticipated, they're nowhere to be seen. So I think Ohio State, obviously, along with Alabama and Georgia, are in a class by themselves. We don't know. I don't know how good Clemson is yet. And there was all this talk about Texas A&M, and what happened to them? Appalachian State beat them. So it's not just Michigan that looks like jerks. Remember that? Oh, did I love that game. And Michigan's ranked high too. I don't know how the faithful at Michigan have put up this long with Harbaugh. I really don't. I don't understand it. I mean, what are they gluttons for punishment? I mean, how much of a license, how much of a leash does he have? Had he not beaten Ohio State last year, but then again, I don't know if I can say that either because he's had so many humiliating experiences with Ohio State and, and bowl games. He's the John Cooper of Michigan.
I couldn't have said it better.
Cooper couldn't beat Michigan, and he lost by far the majority of his bowl games. So, but I think Ohio State's loaded, and it's going to be interesting. Oklahoma and Nebraska play this Saturday, and Nebraska, oh gosh, remember the days of some of the old timers will remember Bob Devaney and then Osborne. Devaney's the one that built that program originally, but now, and then how about UCLA and Southern Cal joining the Big Ten? My God, what is this world coming to? My immediate reaction to that was, well, it's inevitable. We're eventually going to see a Rose Bowl between Southern Cal and Oregon. It's got to happen. But the college season underway and fun indeed. I thought because it's precious time with you, the great group that you are, so I want to open it up to questions. That's always fun when I come down here and speak to you, so let's do so now. The telephone number is, oh no, we don't need that. By the way, good to see Sam over there. Let's hear it for Sam. I haven't seen him for 2 years. Great broadcaster. Questions, fire away, please. Right there, sir.
Do the Indians have a frontline catcher in line to come up?
Yeah, the question was about he called them the Indians, which is okay. I do that on the air once in a while, right? They do. It's Naylor's younger brother. And he's supposed to be tremendous. I saw him in spring training when they first signed him. But he's supposed to be tremendous. Now, the days of Johnny Bench, Ivan Rodriguez, Mike Piazza are gone. You don't see catchers that can hit like that anymore. But we certainly would like a little better than 150. So we're actually very happy if a catcher can hit 230 for our team. But yeah, Naylor's the kid they're grooming. Yes, sir, in the red.
Any rumors on Urban Meyer going to Nebraska?
Wouldn't that be
I believe the question was any rumors about Urban Meyer in other nightclubs? Was that it? I don't know, he's pretty far in the back there. I thought I heard him correctly. Maybe not.
He said going to Nebraska, bro.
Oh, going to Nebraska. Are there nightclubs in Nebraska? He had just had dinner with his wife. And then he went next door and gyrated. I have no idea. And who knows what's in store for him. I know this, he dare not set foot in Jacksonville, Florida again. Even though he did such a great job at the University of Florida. But I don't know, when he left Florida originally, remember he didn't take another job for 2-3 years, whatever it was, and we had heard it was because of his health. But then all of a sudden he emerges and shows up at OSU, and then this Jacksonville, failure. So I have no clue what could be in store for him. I know that Nebraska, since they joined the Big Ten, has lost the recruiting power they used to have, not only in the Plains, but also in California. They used to get a lot of their kids from California. They don't get them anymore. Yes, sir.
The Notre Dame coach, is this another reenactment of Jerry Faust?
Ooh. Ooh, poor Jerry. He's a good speaker. Did a great job at Mulder. Can't take that away from him. It's too early to say, sir, on Freeman. It's just too early to say. But they won't put up with it, I don't anticipate, if it keeps going south like this for the, not so much, the Ohio State game, Notre Dame covered the spread, but this last one against Marshall is a devastating loss. Yes, sir.
Why isn't Marty Schottenheimer in the Hall of Fame?
You know, he'd get my vote if I had one, that's for sure. A lot of my colleagues back then criticized Marty, not me. I got along splendidly with Marty Schottenheimer. He always never turned me down once for an interview. Actually, in those days, it's a thing of the past. Now they don't do it anymore, but he actually came into the studio a couple of times when I was doing radio shows back then and took calls from the fans, and he was great. And when he got fired, I was on a golf course, and the Browns knew how tight I was with Marty. And they sought me out. They called my home, and my wife told them what course. It's amazing that she would remember what course I was on. But they came out and told me that they were going to conduct a press conference, and they wanted me to participate. And I was shocked that Marty got fired, and I was glad to see that he attained such success after he left Cleveland. But I'm a fan of Marty Schottenheimer, and I agree with you, sir. Yeah, way in the back in the red.
How do you feel about the transfer portal in college football?
Well, the question, if you didn't hear it, is about the transfer portal for the student athletes. I gotta be careful saying student athlete, oh God. But anyway, to me it was incredibly unfair for years that these coaches would all have clauses in their contracts where they could bolt like that. And think of it. They go into a family's living room to recruit a kid to come to their school. The family and the kid agree. And then 3-6 months later, that coach accepts, like Kelly at Notre Dame going to LSU, Riley at Oklahoma going to Southern Cal, they bolt and they're gone. And the kid couldn't do a thing. The kid was stuck, probably wouldn't have gone to that school if he wasn't charmed by that coach. And so they were stuck. And if they did leave, they'd lose a year of eligibility. So I think it's been a long time coming, and I do support it. I do support it. But when you tie it in with the name and likeness money that some of these kids are getting, really bothers me. Again, I said sarcastically, student athlete. Do you realize what percentage of college football players make it to the NFL? It's minuscule. But, that education has got to be important enough for those kids to realize that they're not going to make it to the NFL. And here's the other thing that bothers me about name and likeness. What about the gymnasts, the swimmers, the volleyballers? What do they get? There's a woman, I think she's track and field at LSU, who signed $1 million contract, but that's the exception to the rule. So I'm not really crazy about the name and likeness.
Bruce.
Yes, sir.
Next year, the baseball rules change.
Yeah.
You have a few to go over, but one of them I found out is that the pitcher can only step off the rubber twice. And so now you talk about a catcher, so it makes more emphasis on a catcher to throwing a base stealer out than would be his batting average.
Yeah, the gentleman's asking about the new rules in baseball that will come into play next year. And, yeah, I agree, you know,
Because after you throw over twice, then that guy can just take off.
right, without being held at first base.
Being held at first.
Right, yeah, it's a good point. I'm very, you know, I was one of Bud Selig's biggest critics. And I never thought in a million years I would be on the air or in front of a big group like this saying, "Bring back Bud Selig." This Manfred. You know, part of the beauty of baseball is there's no clock. You could have a 1-0, 2-1 pitcher's duel that is less than 2 hours, or a 5-6 hour marathon extra inning game. That's one of the beauties of baseball, in my opinion. Name me a sport where you are on defense when you have possession of the ball. Think about it. But these rule changes for speeding up the game. I mean, you see young people at ball games today like this. You know, Jim was mentioning the cell phones. And thank you, Jim. I haven't heard one go off yet. I'll vote for your re-election. But yeah, you know, they're like this. How many of these young people do you think know how to keep score?
You don't even know who the first scorer is.
Yeah. So I'm, you know, and the guy at second base, I thought Clevenger, the former pitcher with the Indians, now with San Diego, said it best. He said, "Do you realize how difficult it is for in an extra inning game for a batter to get to second base with nobody out, let alone the pitcher, the dilemma that puts the pitcher in?" And I totally agree. I don't like a lot of these changes, and especially to speed up the game like Manfred is obsessed with. So, and then the other thing, as far as enforcing, you know, doing away with the shift, 2 on both sides of second base, what are they going to do? Draw a line from second base to the center field, to direct center field? You know, that's like taking a bucket of paint and pouring it on a Mona Lisa. We'll see how it's enforced. But there's going to be some controversy if they don't draw a line, which I pray they don't. Yes, sir?
How are they going to enforce the pitcher pitch in 15 seconds?
Well, they'll have a clock. It'll be seen. The pitcher will be able to see it. I'm sure they'll have one behind the plate that he can see.
But if he throws over to first, does it count at any time?
It's a ball, sir.
Yes, Canton. Here.
Hey, sorry about that, Bruce.
No, don't ever apologize, especially after you screwed up. Then just keep going.
I've just been going over these rule changes, and I just want to say one thing is for sure: all these rule changes do is increase offensive productivity, whether you have an offense or not. You're gonna see a lot more 10-9 games and a lot less 2-1. I can guarantee you that.
You done?
Yes, sir.
Boy, if I didn't love you. He's right, though. It's all about offense, because to me, there's no better entertainment than a 1-0, 2-1 pitcher's duel, because the slightest mistake can cost the game. Please, fire away. I love spreading dirt on colleagues. Yes, sir.
I thought the Browns should have kept Mayfield for one more year and drafted Pickens. I like Pittsburgh's situation with quarterback better than the Browns.
You know, the worst scenario will be if Trubisky blossoms into a big star like Roethlisberger did and comes back to haunt us. Like Roethlisberger from Finley and Trubisky from Menor. And I always liked Trubisky. I thought, you know, I followed his career in North Carolina when he left Menor, and then, you know, was drafted by the Bears. But yeah, we'll see. Gentleman said he would have liked to see Mayfield stay for one more year and then draft a quarterback, whether it's Pickens or whoever. But I mean, how much longer can you Browns fans be tortured?
I don't like Mayfield, but I don't like what they got now. They wasted 2 years.
Well, you know, us, Detroit, Jacksonville, and Houston are the only teams in the entire NFL that have never been to a Super Bowl. And Houston and Jacksonville are expansion teams. You know, I have always argued that Browns fans are the best fans of any team in professional sports. And here's why. I mentioned earlier about the 1-31 streak. And you still would call up on the air just talking Browns. Your loyalty and the devotion from you fans to this football team is unmatched, in my opinion. I did a rant recently on an ESPN national commentator who said that the Bengals fans care more about the Bengals than the Browns fans do. And I went nuts on this idiot. I mean, it's just ignorant. It's just purely ignorant. Yes, sir.
Hey, Bruce, who are some of the Cleveland area broadcasters that you've enjoyed working with over the years? Some of your favorites?
Obviously my good pal and colleague Joe Tate just passed recently. And Joe and I, you know, it's funny, Joe and I became much closer after we stopped working with one another. And not that we didn't, you know, because when we were, I didn't hang with the broadcasters on the road. I'd hang with the players, Grover and Manning and Blylevin and those guys. But yeah, so Joe is always to my dying day will be very, very important. The most talented person I've ever worked with on the air was Gary D. No question about it. When I was working, I first worked with Gary at WHK when they had the rights to the Browns. And then years later when I was hired to replace Pete Franklin. And when we would go on the air together, I mean, it was bam, 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 bam. And he was older than me, but his mind was quick. I mean, really quick. I loved being on the air with Gary D. Fabulous talent. But I'll tell you Gary D's story. It's just mind-blowing. He was such a character. He did have a couple of screws loose, he did. He went through producers like a hot knife through butter. And this producer had lined up this doctor for his show. So on the way to the station, he's at a stoplight and he sees a homeless woman. He invites her into the car, brings her upstairs to the studio, says to his producer, the doctor's in the lobby waiting to go on the air, blows the doctor away, and does the whole show on this homeless woman, and promises her an apartment and food and all of it. And Gary, he said, God bless you, I'm Gary D, and we're gonna take care of you. Well, the show ends, and he leaves, and there's the woman still there, and she goes and buries herself in the ladies' room in a stall. The management went nuts. They said, oh my God, where's D? Oh, he's long gone. He was like that. He was just, what a character. But so many, I go back with Nev Chandler. I'm sure y'all remember Nev. He was great. I enjoyed working with Nev and so many others through the years. I mean, but those two stand out, obviously Joe and Gary D. Yes, sir.
Bruce, first a comment. I think, unfortunately, pro football has gotten sucked into their own marketing. The Browns and winning the world championships they did and not being recognized before the term was coined, Super Bowl. And then my question for you is, little disappointed, I guess, in Stefanski and his play calling. Even when the national announcers are saying, you know, you got the most prolific running back duo maybe of all time, one of the top 5. And we come out and you got Brissett in a tough role to start with, and you're throwing the ball. It was evident first quarter he couldn't find, you know, the kitchen sink. What's your thoughts on Stefanski and play calling?
Well, I hope if it gets to a point, and I don't think it will with Brissett, it might with Brissett, because Brissett is a very good backup, but let's not forget, he is a backup quarterback. And he looked like it yesterday. He was efficient, but we're not going to the promised land with Brissett. He's a good backup. So we have until Watson comes. I think everybody has to cut the Browns some slack until next year when Watson will be back for a full-fledged season and raring to go. As far as the play calling with Stefanski, I hope if it continues to be an issue, that he doesn't become as stubborn as Kitchens. And a lot of these guys let their ego get in the way in that regard. I know Van Pelt. I belong to Columbia Hills Country Club, and Van Pelt does too. So I know Van Pelt, and he's very capable of calling plays. So with Stefanski and his other responsibilities. As far as the championships you mentioned with the Browns not being acknowledged, I mean, that's so many decades ago, and the sport is just, it has become such a monster in popularity in this country. It's just unbelievable, the marketing. Baseball is atrocious at marketing. Mike Trout could walk, downtown streets of Canton, and nobody would know who he is. He's arguably one of the greatest all-around players in the history of the game. But the marketing part of it is just horrible for baseball. And again, I tie that in with Seelig and Manfred. I mean, I'm so sick of Peyton Manning commercials, I can't tell you. Yes, sir.
What's your thoughts on Joshua Dobbs?
Dobbs, the backup, again, we haven't seen enough of him in real live action, so we don't know, but he certainly looked good in preseason for what that's worth. I don't put much stock in preseason myself because they're up against second and third stringers like themselves. So we won't know until somebody gets hurt and then he would be the next man up. So I don't think any of us can really tell for sure. Yes, sir.
Why aren't the statistics from whenever the Browns played the AAFC or whatever it was, why couldn't they carry some of those over like Rob Grant, like they did the AFL when they merged?
Yeah, I remember when the AFL came into. I used to watch Charlie Hennigan, Blanda with Houston, and those games, the New York Titans and the Chargers with Lance Allworth, and he's next door over here, great receiver. Good question. I really don't know. It's another example of Browns fans just being, the greatest of all time, remembering, and we should always remember those glorious days. The Browns are known for not quarterbacks. We're known for running backs and kickers.
Yep.
And this kid may be the best we've ever had. How about that kick yesterday? He's standing there. He could get frozen. And the NFL teams rarely draft a kicker. Browns took him in the 4th round. So they're to be applauded. I think when I saw this kid kicked in preseason, and I saw him at LSU too, I said, he's a weapon. And I actually thought Stefanski in the first half should have kicked that long field goal instead of going for it on 4th down, because this kid has got the leg. He's a weapon. I love him. Yes, sir.
Do you think the Guardians will win the division?
I really hope they will. I'm not so much concerned now about the Twins as I am the White Sox. They're on a roll. And Cease, Giolito, and Lance Lynn, who's healthy now, are all back and pitching very well. And so I'm worried about the White Sox. We've got a series coming up with the Twins over the weekend, which will be fine. I think we can eliminate them if we can do what we did in Minnesota this last weekend. But the White Sox bother me a little bit. And I'll say this, if we do win the division and get in, anything can happen in the baseball playoffs. In 1997, when the Indians won the pennant, they didn't get hot until August. And then they carried that momentum and that hot streak into the postseason. And we all know it came down to the 10th inning with Jose Mesa and, so close and yet so far. So, anything can happen. And again, these kids, it's like they're out to prove something every time they suit up. I love them. Yes, sir.
How do you assess the Cleveland, the Guardians relief pitching? Who do you like and who do you dislike?
Well, I always, I'm very high on Carl Willis. I've known him for a long time, and I'm very, very high on him. They also had a minor league instructor by the name of Ruben Niebla, who's a fabulous baseball man with pitchers. And he's responsible for the kids that we have developed. I love our bullpen. Karen check. They're checking his hair constantly. But Francona uses that pen effectively, and I was really in favor of the Class A trade because now we see what he's capable of. I love our bullpen, and but please, Sid, grow up, will you please? What does he think? The mound is made out of foam rubber? Come on! But yeah, I think that they do a fabulous job in developing these arms in the pen. If anything, I thought that they would add a bullpen arm before the deadline, but now it doesn't bother me at all because they really, the way they're going, they really don't need it. Yes, sir, right here.
I understand that the minor leaguers are trying to unionize. How do you think that's going to work for them?
Unionizing minor leaguers, well, they're lucky that there are any minor league teams left the way baseball's going. How many have been eliminated? A lot of them, unfortunately. Colleges have taken the place of minor league baseball because you have a lot of ex-major leaguers coaching these college teams. And they've really become, you still see high school kids get drafted, but colleges have really become the new minor leagues. As far as unionizing the minors, I don't know. I don't have any knowledge of that, but it's a great accomplishment to be signed to a professional contract, no matter what level you are signed and you achieve. It doesn't matter. If you've been signed as a professional, that's something to be very proud of. Yes, sir.
What's your opinion on the defensive side on pro football, like roughing the passer, head-to-head contact, things like that?
Yeah, I'm very disturbed by it. It makes it tough on the officials. They're so obsessed with protecting these quarterbacks, and I can understand that, for goodness sakes. They're the most important position. You get them hurt and it ruins your chances of making the playoffs, perhaps. I understand it, but my goodness, how do you coach a defensive lineman? To get in there and get him, but when you get up to him, now you gotta back off. That's not football. It's a rough game. It's a violent game. Guys get hurt. We have the best medical staffs in all of sports in the pros, in the NFL. But and it's such a fine line. I don't envy the officials' jobs trying to call it. And they're only doing what the league wants them to do because they're all freaked out about concussions.
Bruce, we got 3 minutes. Probably might be 2 more questions.
3 minutes, Jim? Am I on the clock? Lose my phone number, okay? Three more. Yes, sir.
Should Tito make manager of the year? And
Yes.
Can he be in the Hall?
Yes. 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 Yes.
This manager business.
Got time for another one? Because that was fast. Yes, sir.
It's kind of a personal question, but when you're playing Ben Cartwright, do you have to get a big toupee?
That about wraps it up, Jim. My wife sent away for these long choppers, these sideburns, and at the end of the play, I did get the biggest applause on the bows. I don't want to brag, but it was fun. 1 or 2 more, real quick. Anybody?
They have to take their meds and get it down.
Got it? Did you hear that? Jim says you all have to take your meds and get on with it. So I'm certainly not going to. Hey, love you. Thanks for inviting me. Always a pleasure coming out. Just a reminder,
your money